This is our First Class Mercado. Listen up. This is your company operations order for the Super Lab on 16 February. You are part of ALF Company, 6th Regiment. The reference you're going to use is your JTA map, 1 over 50,000. Time zone is going to be local. Task organization is Alpha Company, 1st Platoon and 2nd Platoon. Let me orient you to my map. AO Apache is distinguished by Route Rolling Rock or Fletcher Avenue in the north, and then Route Fowler in the south. On the western edge, you have the Hillsborough River. On the eastern edge, you have Route 41. 1st Platoon and then 2nd Platoon are divided by a platoon boundary that runs west to east. The major phase lines are going to be phase line Gordon and then phase line Earnhardt. There are 6 named area of interest divided between the platoon boundary. The 2 hostile villages are Ismetley in the north and then Nasimi in the south. Route Basham is one of the major avenues of approach in AO Apache. The Tactical Training Base Suncoast is located here at the assembly area. Situation: Ariana forces continue to displace east to the international border. They are now consolidating in the villages in the eastern edge of our AO. Areas of interest: AO Bandit north of Rolling Rock. Bravo Company continues to conduct offensive operations north of Rolling Rock against retreating Arianan forces. Potential for enemy movement between the 2 AOs and requirement to coordinate any cross-boundary fires or maneuver. AO Comanche is south of Route Fowler. Charlie Company continues offensive operations south of Route Fowler against retreating Arianan forces. There's going to be potential for enemy movement between the 2 AOs and a requirement to coordinate any cross-boundary fires or maneuver. So you still have the Atropine forces of the 344th Mechanized Infantry Brigade conducting areas just south of the tactical training base. They're establishing 1 blocking position south of TTB Suncoast. Terrain: observation is limited to less than 100 meters in the majority of the area of operation due to dense forest and vegetation. Avenues of approach: you have multiple unnamed east and west routes through AO Apache, along with Route Basham that moves west to east and then north. Key terrain: Hillsborough River runs to the west, and then Mount Chiliad is a prominent hilltop, but is bordered by concertina wire. Cover and concealment: the trees provide good cover and concealment with dense vegetation in low-lying areas that becomes more sparse along these trails. Enemy forces: Arianan forces have attempted to take control of the villages within AO Apache and are conducting operations out of strongpoint buildings to delegitimize Atropian efforts. The Arianan teams operate in teams of 3 to 4 and are building improvised explosive devices and smuggling weapons from Ariana. They are mildly trained and are capable of holding off a superior force for a short period of time. Their most likely course of action: these enemy teams will break contact upon receiving early warning of U.S. presence in these villages. Their most dangerous course of action is that enemy teams will reinforce their positions and place pressure plate IEDs on entrances to buildings and pathways leading to the buildings they occupy. They will engage you using RPK machine guns and will engage in close combat while waiting for reinforcing elements approximately a platoon strong. The reaction force is capable of reinforcing within 20 minutes. Friendly forces, no change to the brigade or battalion. I've already established what the adjacent unit missions are. There's no interagency, and the civil considerations are low. Mission: Alpha Company attacks Arianan strongholds to seize control of villages in Ao Apache no later than 1745 Lima, February 2017, to enable Atropian government lines of effort in the area of operation. The mission again is Alpha Company attacks Arianan strongholds to seize control of villages in Ao Apache no later than 1745 Lima, February 2017, to enable Atropian government lines of effort in the AO. Execution: the commander's intent. Purpose of this operation is to enable Atropian government lines of effort by returning control of key villages to host nation security forces. Your key tasks: seize control of all villages in Ao Apache. Conduct a reconnaissance of named area of interest within your platoon boundaries for enemy presence and additional intelligence. Limit any kind of collateral damage. Preserve your combat power for future operations. And then conduct sensitive site exploitation to gain intel and drive future operations. Your end state: Alpha Company is set at Tactical Training Base Suncoast. The villages in the AO are seized and transitioned to host nation security forces with minimal disruption or damage to the civilian population. Concept of the operation: this operation will be executed in 4 phases. The first phase: planning and preparation. This phase will begin with the issuance of the Frago and will end with when the last platoon crosses LD. Alright, listen to this. It is critical that all MS3 cadets plan and write their version of a platoon order. This is your assignment, MS3s. The designated key leaders, the platoon leader, the platoon sergeant, and squad leaders, will brief their final op order to myself or another cadre and your MS4 OTMs at MS3 class on the morning of 16 February 2017. Phase 2, movement. Alright, this phase begins when the first platoon crosses LD, meaning you leave campus, and ends when all platoons have reached their objectives. Actions on the objective. For Phase 3, this phase begins when the last platoon reaches their objective. Decisive to this phase is the destruction of enemy forces found in the AO. Correction, my last. This phase will end when they reach their final objective. This is decisive because it will enable future village stability operations in the AO. Alright, listen to this. For Phase 3, this is critical that all MS2s and MS1s observe the company op order to observe troop leading procedures, and that both platoons conduct full force, reduced force, or rehearsal of concept rehearsals in your patrol base. Do not skip over this. You must conduct one of the types of rehearsals. The first rotation will conduct area recon of the NAIs. Then we will rotate into the second leadership rotation, and then that second leadership rotation will execute the raid. Phase 4 is consolidation and reorganization. Essentially, once we move back to the assembly area, we will conduct our final AAR. Scheme of movement and maneuver. Phase 1, planning and preparation. All planning and preparation will be conducted at your campus. Phase 2, movement. Phase 3, actions on the objective. Alright, you platoon leaders, you gotta recon your NEIs. And then, during that second rotation, move to assault those villages using a raid. Consolidation reorganization for Phase 4. We're going to meet up at the assembly area and do a good AAR to end out the super lab. No battlefield obscuration. Scheme of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. You don't have priority. Scheme of fires. Alright, so for this assignment, you will plan some fires using company mortars. So you have to submit some type of fires plan. Alright, we will give you guidelines on how to create a fire mission based on pre-planned targets or coordinates. Task to supporting units. So first platoon, you're the main efforts. You're going to attack Village Natsimi at Lima Mike 6863-0505. Second platoon, you're the supporting effort, and you're going to attack Village Ismetli at Lima Mike 6852-0467. On the operational order, you'll notice the coordinating instructions with a timeline. Alright, so what's critical here, once again, is that during MS3 class, we will give you Tuesday to do a mission analysis. But if you are a key leader, you will conduct a back brief to myself or your MS4 OTM at the pull-up area where we conducted the operations order gauntlet. If you are at St. Louis University, you will be given time during class to do that. Also, you will back brief your MS4 OTM or cadre, and they will confirm that you have an established plan before arriving at the JTA. You will not be given time at the JTA to start from scratch. If you do not have a plan, then you will fail this assignment. Alright? This assignment is considered a large portion of your grade. Alright, it's going to be a little bit more than a quiz grade. Alright, so I'm going to move now to the sustainment paragraph. Alright, check it out. You platoon sergeants, make sure that you have some type of planned CCP in your sustainment paragraph. The key thing here is that if you want food, you're going to bring your own food. We will not issue MREs for this super lab. And we will not be giving a break for anybody to go get food. So definitely bring enough water and bring snacks or food so that way you don't get so hungry during the 4 hours while we're out there. I'm going to pause from reading the rest of the op order. It will be posted online. So here's what's key for this assignment with the super lab. If you're a key leader, you're going to execute this mission. You're going to plan, write, brief, and then execute the mission that you plan with the help of your peers. Everybody else, you will also plan and write this mission. You can have a similar mission because you're going to be working together, or have something different based on what you analyze and what you decide as a course of action. Now, here's the difference, is that for your midterm grade, you will record yourself briefing this op order. You will record yourself and you will post it so that way either we can see it as cadre or everybody in class can see it. Your midterm grade is dependent upon you recording yourself briefing your operations order using a TMK, graphics, or you can project something on a slide, but this will be considered your midterm grade. If there are no questions, hit me up on my email. Good luck.